Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empowerment Project podcast. I'm Andrea Bosco.
I'm Dr. Shar. Hey, everyone.
Yes, and today we have a lovely guest. We have Michella Menolascina with us, and I am going to tell you a little bit about Michella, and then you're going to know why we needed to have her on. Besides the fact that she's one of our besties, I've known Michella since I was like 13 years old. We've had a lot of life together, a lot of laughs and love and abundance. And Shar, you've been part of this as well for over 10 years,
Yeah.
knowing Michella, I think. And but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about Michella. So Michella is a wellness speaker who offers group and one-on-one coaching in a variety of different settings. Her specialties are emotional and mental and physical wellness and the mind body connection. So, this is really huge. We love that. She's also a retreat facilitator. She integrates science, yoga, meditation, nature based practices to help others and heal them so they can thrive. She's also a registered massage therapist. She's been doing that for over 27 years and had that much more experience in the health and holistic wellness space. And she specializes in stress management, concussion care, reflexology, lymphatic drainage, and she's also a Reiki master. So, on top of all that, she is married with three beautiful, wonderful children and loves to spend time with them as well as with friends when we all can manage to get our crap together and see each other. So, thank you, Michella, for being here. I feel like this is so long overdue because, so much of what you do and so much of what we talk about here is so aligned. So thank you. Yeah, exactly. So this is where we always like to kind of start with all of our guests, and that's, tell us what made you get into this line of work and why you decided to get. And I know you've had sort of a journey, right? It's not like you started doing all this from the get-go. It's been a journey. So describe kind of that journey for us and kind of where that came from.
But as a very young person, I was always very, very driven. I think, most people start their journey of high school and think about all the fun things they're going to do, where I was very driven as to what my next steps would be from the get-go. And I really didn't know if I wanted to be in, primary medical care. Like I was thinking of nursing, um, or if I wanted to be in preventative care. So in grade 12, I was planning to continue my education with a university degree. And I applied to kinesiology, and thankfully I did get a response right away. However, at the same time, I kind of had a life experience which really made me ask bigger questions. So we talk about like pivotal life moments that create these massive changes in your life. And mine was actually at the age of 16. I was supporting my eldest sister with the pregnancy of her first child, meaning, was really supporting her when she was pregnant, always around. What do you need? And then I think how old are you? 16, grade 10?
Yeah.
I was in grade 10 or grade 11. And anyways, my sister had decided she wanted to take a natural route of childbirth. And that's always kind of been the tone for me as well, is, look to natural ways, supportive ways to create health and wellness. And same with when it came to mothering and pregnancy. So my sister was planning to have her baby at women's college with a OBGYN. And at the time, she had a friend who was very much into the natural approach and told her, don't rush to the hospital for your second child. Take your time at home, because her first child, she birthed it took her quite a while, 8 to 9 hours in the hospital. So with her second pregnancy, she had decided, I don't want to go to the hospital right away. And as her little sister, very, very close to my eldest sister, I said, okay, let's do that. And so I met her at home, not knowing what I was providing was emotional, mental, and physical support to my sister, but I was trying to support what she wanted. So things started to change for me, and I noticed how passionate I was about women's health care. So long story short, we didn't make it to the hospital. And I sat with my sister in the back seat, who was ready to push her baby out, and trying to prevent her to go into shock. I just kind of spoke my faith over her and said, Mary, you can do this. Your body knows what you have to do. I'm right here. I'm going to catch the baby and everything's going to be okay. And in the front seat, my brother-in-law was driving, and every time we passed an intersection or we got closer to a hospital, he would name it out loud. So it was quite intense, but I remember this, huge rush of calmness coming into my body, and I knew I had to be that for my sister. So thankfully, my nephew was born very, very quickly, and we pulled up to Branson Hospital, and I grabbed a pillow and put it on top of my nephew. And I still remember hoisting my sister's body so we could put her on a stretcher and get her in to emerge so that she could birth the afterbirth, the placenta. And that had a really big impact on me. And when I went home and I had time to reflect, of course, I had a really good cry, because the humanness in you starts to come into play after, very stressful situation like that. But also, it helped me recognize some gifts I had in myself that I wanted to pursue further. So I found out that Ryerson had a program in midwifery, and it was 1990 something, and it was a very new program. And I thought, okay, well, along with kinesiology, maybe I'll try and get into midwifery. And this became kind of the center focus of where I was going to go. However, at the information session, they basically told me to raise my hand up if I had any questions. And I was the youngest student there asking if I could become a midwife for women. And I'll never forget the administrator who was giving the talk said, you need to have a backup plan, because the likelihood of you getting in at 18 years old is very low.
Wow.
So then I decided, rather than doing kinesiology, I wanted to gain a skill so that I could support myself through university. So I was doing some research and found out about the massage therapy program, and decided in grade 12 to take a full body course offered at Sutherland and Chan. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the connection I was experiencing. I enjoyed being able to use my hands. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. So I decided not to go into kin. I decided to hold off. I did apply, but of course I didn't get into Ryerson. And I said, you know what? I'll go to massage therapy college. And then in my second year of massage therapy college, a teacher who had heard about my experience of supporting my sister mentioned that I can become doula certified. So a doula is a woman who provides emotional, mental, and physical support for women in childbirth. So I decided to do that. And I furthered my skills in women's studies. And after I graduated, I became a childbirth educator, which I did at Humber. And I continued to try and get in. And it was really, really tough because I tried for 5 years to get in as a midwife. And unfortunately, I would get as far as an interview, but then always get a rejection letter. So I was 28 years old at the time, and I started practicing yoga when I was 18. And I'll never forget, my yoga teacher was a really good spiritual mentor and teacher for me. And we had many conversations about this journey I was on with my education and with massage therapy. And we were in a class, and he said to me, did you ever think that maybe you're being blocked by God? You know, that God has a different plan for your life and that you're exactly where you need to be, because there were no obstacles to getting in. I had great marks. I had, tons of experience, but I was dealing with rejection, and feelings of maybe I'm just not good enough. And he gave me a different perspective. And I thought, oh, great, here I go again, right? And maybe he's correct, because the point of entry for massage therapy and my progression in that profession was seamless. Like, I didn't struggle. I struggled with clinic owners, but in helping people, it was wonderful. And then I had another person say to me something profound, that also felt like it was divine. Sometimes people say things and you feel that it's of divine nature, like I should really pay attention to that. So when my yoga teacher said that, I paid attention to that. And then I was hosting a retreat, and the retreat was a combination of massage therapy, yoga, and meditation. And the person hosting it was a good client of mine. And he said to me, I know how badly you're working towards being a midwife, but, you've helped so many people. If you're a midwife, you're just going to help women. But doing what you're doing, you're helping many people, not just pregnant women. And that also kind of opened up my lens a little bit as to, the truth is, like, which has always been my prayer, like, God, use me and place me where you need me to be. So I paid attention to that. And at 28, after applying 5 years to midwifery at Ryerson University, and after getting married, something shifted inside of me, and I knew it was time for me to enter motherhood. And I'll never forget feeling like the minute I became pregnant that I was exactly where I needed to be. For those of you who aren't aware, midwives give a lot of their time to the profession. It's more of a vocation. It's kind of like medicine, where, you're always on call, you're always in service. Whereas, massage therapy and entrepreneurship gave me a very good balance of my practice as massage therapist. And then, and being there as being present as a mother. And I kind of knew that if I became a midwife, I would require a nanny, and the nanny would be raising my children, which probably wasn't in alignment with me at that time, my personal journey. So I remember everything shifting for me and having a conversation with my husband and saying, maybe I just do what I'm doing now and we'll make it work, because massage therapy will allow me to raise the kids and also practice what I love to do. So I often say I was very blessed in that some people don't know what they want to do with their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of in that other direction where I knew I could do more than one thing well. And so I made that distinction between, where do I want to be? I want to be in preventative care and I want to be in wellness. So I was able to do that. And I know I could have done that in different ways, right? But still, the overall essence of what I'm doing is still helping people. I did know for sure that I didn't want to work with sick people. I wanted to prevent people from getting sick. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I ended up staying with massage therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was raising the kids, I was still very, very deep in my own practice as a yoga practitioner. But I also was very, very deep into my own spiritual growth as well. I was a seeker, so I was doing a lot of investigating into Eastern philosophies of healing and Eastern spirituality. And having been born and raised Roman Catholic, I had a lot of questions about religion and my faith and my own spirituality. But it was funny, people often say that, Eastern practices can take you away from your faith, which is so ridiculous. What
Mm-hmm.
it did for me is strengthen my faith. So I've always been a huge advocate for Eastern approaches and how it can help deepen our faith when you're learning from the right people. So in 2009, I was pregnant with my second child, and I decided to become yoga certified because I was already teaching to my clientele privately. I was already teaching relaxation practices. So we called it stretching, we called it meditation and breathing and relaxation. And I was also, I was a practicing doula. So I was probably doing about anywhere from 8 to 12 births a year. And I was supporting women through their pregnancy, doing their childbirth education, supporting them in labor and childbirth, and then with the postpartum with breastfeeding and childcare. So that was really rewarding. And then after my second child and becoming yoga certified, I started opening myself up to the public and teaching to the public with a very physical oriented practice, strengthening, stretching, and again, always focusing on deep relaxation, breathing, and meditation. So I can say that I was really making those investments in myself, not understanding why, but knowing they were crucial.
Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like you were, whether you knew it at the time or not, but everything that you were doing, you were basically was all being married together, right? It was
Exactly.
all being marinated together,
Mhm.
I guess, to bring you to where you are today, because
Yeah.
I think, and just knowing who you are and how you practice, nobody knows where one profession begins and the other one ends, right? Like it's so seamless when they're with you, or when even when I'm with you, like the care that I get when I'm with you, like it's seamless. Like it's not like, okay, now I'm going to do some yoga practices, or now I'm going to do a stretch, or
Yeah.
now I'm going to do this. It's just married into this beautiful choreographed practice. And the choreography is specific to your patients. Like, so that's what I really love about what you're doing right now. It's very customized, but you can use that tool belt
Yeah,
to
it
bring it out for
definitely is a
people.
tool belt, right? So the younger part of me really felt like things had to be compartmentalized,
Mm-hmm.
and people were receiving many benefits from that. Um, but I think I would say the third leg of my journey, because after really getting busy with mothering, I decided to stop doing doula care because I couldn't provide care in the way that I wanted to.
Mhm.
So after my second child, I was done with being a doula and only supporting family and friends who needed me there. And I went on to continue massage therapy, yoga, and meditation. And I always had an interest in energy because it's always been in me. It's a language that I've always used. I'm an empath by nature, so I'm a deep feeler as well. However, becoming a certified energy therapist was probably, um, I don't know what the right word is. Um, it felt it felt vocational.
Mm-hmm. Like
So,
a calling.
yeah, but more even deeper than that, because there really is so much baggage that comes with language, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I've always believed that energetically, we really have to protect ourselves from people who call themselves, uh, I'm going to say this again, not to offend anyone, but Reiki masters, because, if you go to the right program, like, or let me say the wrong program, you're certified in like 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I am not a master at anything. I'm actually quite uncomfortable calling myself a Reiki master because I don't feel like I'm a master at that. However, it's language we use.
Mm-hmm.
So for many years, I've been approached by many different people to become a Reiki practitioner. However, I don't know if it was intuitive in me, if it was timing, if it was God, I'm not sure. However, it wasn't the right time, and it was never the right teacher. And about 8 years ago, I finally found the right teacher
Mm-hmm.
who spoke in a language that made sense to me, who also was aligned with it being very vocational. Because what did we do, Shar? We did it over the course of 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, two
Yeah.
and a half years.
Yeah. So it's something we both, thank God I took that journey with you, Shar. It's beautiful to
Mm-hmm.
take an energy healing journey with a friend. Andrea, you were probably on that journey with us,
Probably. I know you
even though
guys
you
kept
didn't want to
telling
be.
me you need to do this with us. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't in the right
Right. But you were
space.
doing it energetically anyway,
Yeah.
because energy is energy, right? You evolved, everyone around you, just by point of contact, they evolve as well.
Yeah.
So, at the time, I didn't really understand why was God taking me here next, especially as a Roman Catholic. Like, why are you bringing me here? Why are you
Mhm.
asking me to do this? Um, Now, what's it been, Shar? It's been 5 years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think 5 years now. I
Yeah,
just
because we started, I think, in COVID or just before
yeah,
COVID.
yeah. So just before that, I also got my certification for coaching because I wanted a license to be able to help people, help them reach their goals, whether they were emotional, mental, physical. And so I would say that's how I started to intertwine everything. But the biggest impact was the Reiki. It felt very vocational, learning from our teacher and also applying the principles to my life. And then I had to surrender again, though. I had to surrender. And this is the really interesting part as a healer. You learn a structure that you're meant to follow. But when I entered a healing space with people, it wasn't the way the Holy Spirit was working, wanted me to work, or was working through me that I expected. So that was a huge learning journey for me, is how am I going to do this? How am I going to incorporate it? What's right? What's wrong? Is this in alignment with what God wants for me as a healer, for the person as the healee? And I am so grateful that I stuck to it, because there's nothing, more gratifying than
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
like really gratifying than being a part of someone's healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say healing, like, there's no end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no finish line with healing, right? When we're on a journey toward healing, it's just growth. Healing is growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are on a healing journey where they have to stop everything and give it all they got, to bring that energy, that life force, God consciousness, everything back into their body. But most of us are on a pattern of growth. So it's not easy. I recognize that. The work that I do, there's a cost to it, for sure. But I do feel that I've surrendered my need to figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
And that if anything has to change for me, then those opportunities will come, and intuitively I'll know when the next steps are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you are where you are right now because that's where God needs you. And then, you know what, if it's supposed to change or evolve in whatever way, it's just
Yeah, and I
trusting
think
that you'll know.
and I think that, it's not just about God needing me as someone working with people, but also I think it's partly because of God needs me in a certain environment to be a certain way for the people I actually work for and work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so never put yourself in a box. Like, that's what I say to people, because just your presence is part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's we tend to really think in a selfish way, but everything is always working for our good and for the good of others. So sometimes we might find ourselves in an environment where we don't want to be in, yet you have an important role to play to be in that space. And it can be with career, relationship. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So
So
yeah,
as you can,
so
you definitely have quite the journey.
yeah, so um, I do massage therapy pretty much full time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that's really rewarding. So massage therapy is a wonderful way for people to relax, um, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And I would say the majority of the clients that I see are there for their emotional well-being. And that is where I really like to do my work. I've done all forms of massage therapy. I've done corporate, I've done rehab, um, you know, motor vehicle accident, like I've done it all. But I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm kind of in my last leg of the profession where I'm really just teaching people how to deeply relax and feel a sense of safety and security in their body through the beautiful gift of touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's who you're also attracting into your work, right? And I'm sure there's people that have come to you with different intentions and found that they liked your approach, and maybe who didn't like your approach and didn't
Yeah.
return. And but
Mm.
like I I know you believe this too, is like everyone who comes to us is meant to, and whoever wants to stay will stay. And that's why I really love for you to talk more about that, the body embodiment and mind connection, because
Right.
I think most people think about massage as this nice, like you said, relaxing, and oh, I'm just going to go and zen out for an hour and then I'm going to get back to my stressful, crazy life. And I know that's the very opposite of what you promote in your practice. So how do you, like, I know you know that there's an importance, but how do you explain the importance between the two and kind of incorporate that into your practice and your
Mhm.
daily life? Like, it's not, this is your lifestyle. It's not just what you teach others, it's what you do for yourself too.
Yeah. So massage therapy is very different in that when somebody comes to see you as a massage therapist, they're very specific about what they want, as opposed to, think about it, like you go see a chiropractor, physiotherapist, and the physio or chiro tells you what you need. In
Yeah.
massage therapy, the client actually has the ability to um, tell you what they're in need of. So that's also beneficial, and people don't recognize that because that creates a sense of autonomy,
Mhm.
assertiveness as well. So let's say someone comes for a massage and they have a lot of shoulder pain. They may specifically um, not be coming for that shoulder pain. So they can tell me, oh, I have a rotator cuff tear. However, I'm just here because I want to relax. So that's the difference with massage therapy, is that people can come and be treated, and they are part of the consent and intake. So people don't recognize massages as being therapeutic and part of their overall mental and physical well-being, but it is, because by being able to be part of that therapeutic relationship, by saying what they need and what they don't need, um, can really help a person on their journey to become less stressed out, um, to heal if they're going through a health crisis. Um, yeah, so there's quite a few things that are happening that people aren't aware of. So on my day to day, I'm not going to get into it with someone, right? But if someone who I've been seeing for a while is saying to me, "Wow, that chronic neck pain I've had, like, it's almost gone," and all they've done is committed to coming for a massage once a month. So what's really happening there? What's really happening? So when you receive body work and you're allowed to deeply relax, which massage therapy provides, because it's one of the only practices where you can really completely let go. You can do so in other modalities like acupuncture, osteopathy, but usually with chiro, Shar, you can attest to this,
Mhm.
chiro, physio, there's some active involvement
Yes,
from
for
the
sure.
client.
Mhm.
But my clients can ask me to be quiet for the whole hour and only check in with them if they need me to check in. So
Mhm.
I can respect that boundary as a massage therapist, right? And so what's really happening? So in massage therapy, we're seeing the benefits almost as if they're receiving a 1 hour meditative state. They're in
Mhm.
that 1 hour of a meditative state. Their respiration is slowing down, their heart rate is slowing down. It's almost as if they've received, I tell them, like 8 hours of sleep.
Mhm.
So there's deep relaxation. And what we know is that the autonomic nervous system, called the parasympathetic nervous system, is being activated during a massage, which is causing deep rest, deep relaxation. The digestive system is resting as well. And everything is rejuvenating the same way it would if you were in sleep, like having a good sleep. So so that's called more of a passive effect on the body. Mechanically, when you're working as a massage therapist, you're directly impacting muscle, joint, ligament, um, circulation, lymphatics, depending on the type of massage that we're doing. And that would be what we call a mechanical, like a direct effect on the tissues. And we're seeing it, right? The tissue becomes more hyperemic. So there's a red response. So circulation is coming to the surface as well. So, but there is that added effect of pleasure, right? And we know that pleasure's been studied as well. And when the pleasure centers in the brain are activated, through touch, through safety, security, we're getting this flood of good hormones coming through the body. So
Mhm.
if you ever get a massage by me, you'll never, um, I will never do deep tissue if I feel your body tense up,
Mhm.
because I don't want that effect, right? I'm trying to create safety and security and a pleasurable experience, because I'm working with your neurotransmitters. I'm working with your nervous system.
Mhm.
So a good RMT who understands the nervous system is really taking all this information about the body into their treatment. Now, that's not to be said. Some people prefer not to be massaged like that. Some people really respond to deep, deep pressure. And I have
Mhm.
my theories about that as well. Our nervous systems are all wired differently. Um, so, so there's a lot going on during a massage to the physical body, but there's also a lot going on to the emotional and mental and neurological part of the body as well. When I began to study trauma response
Mhm.
about 8 years ago, I really went deep into trauma for my own healing journey, but also starting to relate it to my treatments. And I continue to come across how embodiment work was the number one way to heal the body from trauma.
Explain
So,
embodiment.
Yeah.
right. So, embodiment meaning being in your body. So, most of us aren't even aware of what's happening in our body because we're living our life pretty much from the neck up. We do a
Mhm.
lot of thinking, and that takes us away from being inside our bodies. So, for example, let's think about trauma. Someone who's been through a recent trauma, let's say a car accident, it can be a loss of a loved one, it can be the loss of a job. It's scary to think trauma is anything less than favorable, and we can spend a whole hour on that. So I'm not going to go deeper into that,
Mhm.
but
We should do something on that.
we
But
could
anyway, go on.
we could definitely do that. Um, so when we talk about embodiment, even the best researchers out there always come back to how being in your body, practices that teach you how to be aware and inside your body, is going to help you with healing the trauma and moving forward from the trauma and making sense of the trauma. So here's the trauma that happened to you. How do we let go of that trauma and allow it to be there as part of the story so that we can live out the rest of our life in a really positive way? But what happens with a lot of people, is my fist representing trauma, is they hold on to it because they don't feel safe and they don't know how to make sense of it. And what we notice is with touch or with embodiment practice, where you actually activate the body, this grip starts to let go, and safety and security starts to kind of open you up from the trauma and help you to hold on to it, but in a really healthy way. And not to say that that's something that happens overnight, but embodiment takes time, right? So think of the person who had chronic neck pain, no injury, just chronic neck pain associated with hypertone in the traps, right? A lot of people say, oh, I have so much tension. But have you ever been injured? No. Have you ever been in a car accident? No. So where does that pain come from and why is it there? So there's many reasons why it's there, but I'm just giving you an example. Yet just by coming in and having her body worked on, not hyper focusing on the area of pain, but helping her understand areas of the body that feel good when they're touched, right?
Yeah.
So I often ask my clients, where does it feel good when I massage? Where do you feel like it really relaxes you? And they'll say, oh, when you work on my hands, or like when you work on my calves, areas that aren't in pain, but they offer this deep relaxation. Those areas can be just as healing to the neck and shoulders because they're teaching areas of pleasure, right? And that in itself creates this safety. But if I'm like elbowing in, right, into the neck and shoulders, and she's like, oh my God, you're killing me, right? That's very activating. That actually makes you do this more. So it's never my intention to create more trauma in the body. I always see the person as an emotional, mental, physical body, and that the key to their overall health improving is by teaching positivity in touch. So that to me is a form of embodiment. Breath work is a form of embodiment. Deep relaxation, where we tense and relax, like each part of the body. Practices like Tai Chi and yoga and Pilates, believe it or not, weight training, right? If you're doing it and not overactivating your autonomic nervous system, can be very embodying. That's why for people who have mental health issues, it's suggested that you exercise, because exercise and movement really take you out of your mind, right? And bring you to the physical experience where you can feel in the moment safety. And that is embodiment. To me, embodiment is learning how to feel safe and secure in your body. And I'll tell you, this is true whether I'm working on a stage 4 cancer patient or I'm working on someone who just has chronic neck and shoulder stress. So like, as an example, I have a client who has stage 4 cancer right now. And she strategically, without me telling her to do this, she strategically books her massage the morning before her chemo.
Oh, wow.
Because it puts her, she says, by the time I'm done with you, I feel so grounded and safe that I can go face that hard thing.
Oh,
And
Wow.
to me, that's the empowerment. body work. So, and that's easier to achieve in a safe, secure environment of touch, if that's right for you, versus teaching someone something that they might feel is really abstract, like meditation or breathing. Like, we know people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to meditate.
Yeah.
I don't know how to meditate. But then when you touch their body and they're like rhythmically breathing and they, they're in that beautiful state. What do we call it? Sharp theta, right? Where they're awake but asleep and they're just like, wow, I feel so good. So there's many ways of achieving that state. And for me, who's tried everything, I still love massage therapy the best, because that feeling on my body, right? We talk about people being neurodiverse. And, whenever I'm around neurodiverse, children, I'm always feeling the need to kind of reach out and squeeze them, because it's such a great feeling. Like, if you've ever, felt really stressed and you placed a heavy blanket on you, that's what we're trying to achieve with embodiment.
Yeah. So would you say most people need embodiment, or like,
Yes.
and what stops
100%.
people from like
So,
not doing this for
oh,
themselves?
let
And like,
me give you an example, right? So right now we're heavily like influenced by outside factors.
right.
So people, we're constantly receiving information, social media, relationships. Like, despite what we have to live on a regular basis, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm overstimulated a lot.
Yeah.
And learning what my body, this is embodiment as well, right? So doing the work to learn what overstimulation means for me, or even understimulation looks like for me,
Yeah.
show me that I'm out of alignment, right? So first there's an understanding of it, but most people don't have an understanding of how the nervous system works, whether they're over functioning or under functioning, overstimulated, understimulated. They're all that's pretty much out of alignment. In
Mm-hmm.
alignment is your breath is rhythmic, your heart is rhythmic, you're not snapping, you're not sleeping, feeling like you're falling asleep, right, on the couch. You're just in a flow state, right? So most people don't understand that, because they're so living their life from constant stimulation. So they're going through their checklist, right? So that's one thing. And that checklist is determined, like, has become so important that they're forgetting how to live life present in their body, right? They're either walking around with a phone like this, right?
Yeah.
So they're not present, they're in the phone. Or they're going to the gym and they're checking off that I've gone to the gym, but they're forgetting to feel the experience of being in the gym. Do you understand? There's a very different, it's a very different experience from going for a walk because you feel that's what you need, versus I'm going for a walk because I got to walk the dog and I got to get my steps in.
Right.
And so it's just this, it's this living outside of ourselves. And then what happens is the nervous system, you can't lie to the body, right? The body, if you're living your life that way, your body will eventually send you the signals that you are not safe, we're overstimulated, or we're understimulated. And then you get a pain or an ache, or you experience anxiety, or you become depressed, or something happens in life and all of a sudden everything stops and you don't know how to deal with it. So I would argue to say that many people are walking around and very, very disconnected. And I would actually argue that most people who see me for coaching, spiritual healing are disconnected from themselves. So the first thing I want to do is to teach someone how to be inside their body, how to feel what they need to, how to understand they're in a state of overwhelm. If they are, and that ends up helping them understand why they feel blocked in their life, why they might be dealing with a physical symptom in their body. So I would say when we didn't have so much stimulation, it wasn't as important. Like if we look at earlier generations, like we're the last generation who grew up without a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like when we needed regulation, think about it, because we were bored, nothing to do. We would actually, we would focus on relationship. Right? We'd call each other and say, hey, what are you doing? You want to hang out? And we'd focus on creating joy through connection. But a lot of people, when they're bored now, they get their dopamine hits from social media or shutting down and going into their rooms, and they're not actually activating being in their body. They're more in their mind. And I truly believe that's why we have a crisis, a mental health crisis on our hands.
And why do you think people resist embodiment? And I know the answer because I've done embodiment work with you and Shar and on my own. And it's when you're using it to its full potential of healing and up leveling, this is our new word, right, Shar?
Yeah.
Up leveling ourselves. It's freaking hard work. So, like, in your experience, when you see that resistance in people who you're just like, oh, you need so much more of this, and like why do we resist it so much when it's so needed?
Right. So first of all, I would agree with you that people are afraid to find out what's there inside, right? So it's really easy to distract ourselves by refusing what's in here, or what's going on in here. And that would take us to what we often talk about and what you guys talk about a lot, which is emotional regulation. So emotion is energy. Emotion will manifest in the body as a symptom, as a feeling. Okay. And most people who are in pain, for example, most likely are practicing embodiment, but in a painful way. Right? So what I often tell people, if you're experiencing pain or you have an issue in your body, what's your relationship to that pain? Do you thank it? Do you hate it? Are you upset with it? Because that's just another form of refusal of self, right? So I often say the body is the most loving thing. It's the most loving thing. We shoot so much at it. That's not good for us, right?
Yeah.
Yet we wake up every day and it's trying, like every day it's trying to do the best it can for us. So to me, I have such a deep appreciation for my body, and not just for the parts that are working well, but the parts that hurt, because even those parts are showing up for me and trying to tell me something. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
It
And I
makes
love
sense to me too. Just from because I do very similar work to you. And I know that this is something that I would love for you to talk about, because I have like, we do similar work, and I know now that when people come to me and they have certain conditions or certain issues, it's what's happening is I can't just look at it as a physical issue anymore.
Yeah.
For me, it's so much deeper with respect to where it's showing up, how it showed up, and what's going on in their life when they first noticed it showing up. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit more about that, and just
Right.
like, just now someone
Right.
coming in, you can't look at it from a physical perspective, just a physical perspective anymore.
Right. And often we look at being present and in our body as a waste of time in our society. We
Mm-hmm.
have to acknowledge that, right? We other than religion or exercise, where we actively practice time to be present, there's not really any other opportunity to practice embodiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's something else I've noticed about, modern society. And it's scary to me, because if you don't have a center, if you don't have a religion, or if you don't have a relationship with God, or even nature, right? Nature can be, honoring nature can be a beautiful way to become present and embodied. Or if you don't exercise, or in a way that is like, what does my body need today? Oh, I need a walk. Or actually my posture's really been affected, I have to work in a way. Like, we're like, like looking at ourselves, and it's always about like what we look like, rather than
Mm-hmm.
what we feel like in our body. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think, because I've come to really have to work with what my body needs as opposed to what I think I need, I learned embodiment. So a lot of us learn embodiment when we need to. So when we're usually on a healing journey, or something physically happens to us, we go through trauma, that's when embodiment. But how do we move into being proactive? And so I really think that the best way to become proactive about embodiment and not be afraid to really look at yourself is understanding what emotional regulation is. Because, like I was saying before, emotion is an energy. So for example, boredom, that's an energy. And if you sit with boredom long enough, it'll pass. But looking at why you're bored, right? So rather than just trying to prevent boredom by putting on a show, putting on this, I see it in myself. Like, if I don't want to think or feel, how can I distract myself from me, rather
Mm-hmm.
than dealing with the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I've come to understand is that even with spirituality, we can bypass the human body. So I'm going to say that again,
Can you
because
say
it's
that again,
very,
and say
very
more?
important. Even with spiritual practice, we bypass our body,
And how do we do that, or
which
how does
is,
that happen?
in my opinion, the most hurtful, deceitful thing we can do. It's to me, it's what creates the most self-harm to the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So spirituality is very, very important. And it's wonderful to become more spiritual, to integrate ourselves with the divine. But if we're doing it at the cost of not paying attention to what is in here, I believe that's a form of self-abuse that God never, ever, ever, ever was his intention for us.
So give
Because,
me an example of that. Like, how does someone do that with spirituality?
Mm-hmm.
right, so there's something called spiritual bypassing, which I do all the time. I did all the time as a self-deprivating, I want to say, practice. So if you were to ask me to close my eyes, the first thing I would want to do is escape. So it's a form of escapism from the physical being. So you rise up rather than be in the body, feeling the body, which is your temple of God, right? So we honor this part anytime we eat healthy, we have good sleep, beautiful relationships, we practice love. We search for joy. We build gratitude. That's all in honor of this, right? Which honors God, right?
Right.
If we're self-abusive by bypassing the body all the time for toxic positivity, for I just want to leave my body. I want to leave it. I want to just go. I want to be in the spirit forever and ever and ever. I don't want to be here. That's a form of self. And this might, maybe most of you don't agree, but if you're going to go on a healing journey with me, this is the truth. The truth is, if you don't want to be here, then what are you truly saying? If you don't want to be in your body, what are you really saying?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to be alive.
So true, right?
Or you're not grounded and you can't connect with anything here, because I can relate to what you're saying.
Me too.
I've been in that space where I've wanted to escape whatever was
I
happening.
think
And
we all
again,
have.
right? Like, and I don't think it's just physical pain. It's not like, oh, I have, bad knee pain or bad low back pain. It's that I have emotional pain and I don't know how to handle it. And the safest
can
place
go
for me to be is here versus down here. Like,
because
that's
you know
definitely
what that spiritual vibration of love and ecstasy and peace
right.
feels like. So you're like, I don't want to feel those bad things. I just want to feel the good things.
Right.
However, I think part of that escape is that we never learn that being emotional beings is part of the human experience. Because if we weren't raised by emotionally aware people,
Yeah.
then it could definitely affect the relationship we have to our emotional state of being. So rather than recognizing that what's happening right now is an overwhelmed shitstorm of emotion, we identify with the emotion as being part of who we are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say when people come to me for Reiki, we always have to, I always try and connect people with emotion. So what does sadness look like for you? What does anger look like? What does resentment look like? What does worry look like? What does being depressed look like for you? What does despair look like? And we often find out what our stuff is or what our stagnant energy is when we discuss emotion. And I'm going to go as far as say that where God is showing me I need to go, or I would say the Holy Spirit is showing me I need to go with the people I work with, is forget about talking about chakras and energy colors. If you can help people master their emotions, then I can do the work I need to do to center and align people,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a much deeper practice than saying, we're going to bring in more orange light
Mm-hmm.
and yellow light, and then we're going to open. Actually, no, I'm not going to do any of that because I'm not God, but I can be present in my body, grounded, and I can hold a high vibration of love, peace, gratitude, and joy for you so that we can open up to a higher healing vibration for
Mm-hmm.
myself and for you. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've come to understand that I'm really doing
Yeah.
in relationship to someone. So what that means is the more we empower people to understand that they are not their emotion, rather the emotion is an energy, a frequency working through them. And the more they learn to process that emotion, the more energy, think of it as potential energy, is released. So how do we deal with the release, right? Because it can mean crying. It can mean, 5 days of rest. For some people, it's really intense.
Yeah.
Well, we can support them by saying that this is doing the work.
Yeah.
Everything you're going through is okay. So often when I work with people as a coach or as in spiritual healing, if I feel like I'm going in a loop with them, and then we're just coming back to the same thing, same behavior, that's when I'll say to them, you need to go to therapy.
Yeah.
You need to work this out, however long it's going to take you. Because some people work on the same issue their whole life.
Yeah.
Their whole life. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're disconnecting so much more, because we have so many more distractions. Right? We don't have the skill to learn how to hold conversations with people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, like, it sounds to me that most of us are doing things that can allow us to embody, like to get into our body, but because of our distracted mind and because of our non-willingness to be in the body, those activities then become not like they're not,
They
working,
become,
let's say.
right. They become stored energies.
Yeah.
Because the body loves you. So the body's going to help you process it. They can become conflicts in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the say the exercise that we go and do, the eating that we try to do, or even the yoga class that we go to, or even the therapy that we go to, it's not real. You're not getting the full benefit.
You're not.
Because we're still just using it as a checked box.
Exactly. You're in the doing of it and not the feeling of it. So you could be working out to get it checked, but you're so disconnected from how good you feel. Or
So what would be the
let's
difference
say,
then? Like if
right,
someone's
so let's say
going,
someone is working out 7 days a week.
yeah,
And really for their body, they should only be doing 3 or 4 a week. But they're addicted to the addiction they're receiving from going 7 days a week. But it's depleting them. It's activating their cortisol. It's not helping them get the results they need because they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to get better sleep. But they're not listening. There's a disconnect in their body. So another example can be someone's having intense neck pain. Or let me give you a really good example. So someone came to me, chronic lower back pain. And this guy is telling me, I'm stretching every day. I've spent thousands on, seeing chiropractors and I'm doing. And I said, can I ask you a question? Right? Because he was coming from massage, right? And I said to him, did you ever think you were overdoing it? Like, do you think it's possible that if you spend more time decompressing, that your back would feel better? And he kind of looked at me like, you're telling me to do less? Like, life is telling me I have to do more to feel better. And so to me, that in itself is a radical belief. Like I follow this woman on social media. I love her page. And her page is all about rest and how rest is this radical thing. And I was seeing it come up in my own life that when my body is tired, I'm coming off a really difficult weekend. of, maybe, cleaning the house and entertaining family and having a really busy week at work. And I would hit this wall of like total exhaustion. I would feel this sense of, I don't know, failure that would come with needing rest. And I
Yeah.
had to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to teach myself that it's okay to be tired. It's okay to require rest,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to explore that. So with this specific person, we had a secure therapeutic relationship that he was able to receive it, and he did it. He laid off a little bit and his back pain improved.
Yeah, I
Wow.
find the same thing happens in my office, is that everyone is kind of looking for someone or something outside of themselves to make them feel better. And I think that is what's helped me get my patients, like transition them into doing some energy healing,
Mhm.
is helping them understand that, like, let's just look inside for a second. Let's see what's happening here
Yeah.
first, and then we'll come back to why you came in the office. And I find
Right.
like that's a good way uh to get them the goals that they came in for originally.
And sometimes the answer is really simple. Someone comes in low energy, like, are you taking your B12? Are
Mhm.
you anemic?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that simple,
Sure.
or someone comes in, they have a ton of digestive issues, and you can say to them, okay, let's start with the physical, right? Because, when we talk about the energetic body and how it sits inside of us, the lower three energy centers are all in relationship to the world. So those are our physical energy centers, and it's all in relationship to each other and to the planet, right? So relationship to ourselves, relationship to others, and then relationship to our environment. And actually, when we're working with people, this is where they have the most amount to clear up anyway. And when I say clear, what I mean is working through a lot of this stuff, right? Whereas in the higher energy centers, it's all about changing behaviors, which is much, much more difficult to do. So
Mm.
let's say, for example, someone's doing everything right with their nutrition. They're doing all the things, they're checking off the boxes, they're exercising, they're this, but they come and they're like, but I'm not getting the results I want. I'm still struggling with my energy. I still feel like an emotional roller coaster. I'm struggling in my relationships. Those are much higher frequencies. So life and like evolution itself is a journey through our energy systems.
Mhm.
Like, we're evolving through our systems. And you're disconnected if you're not paying attention to the lower three energy centers, and you're disconnected if you're not paying attention to the upper four. So it's a journey. Your understanding of yourself is a journey. So it doesn't mean, oh, I move up higher and I let this part go. It's, I move up higher because I understand what my needs are in these three areas.
Mhm.
And I'm moving up higher into my awareness, into my consciousness,
And
into
that's not spiritual bypassing.
that is not spiritual.
That's the opposite.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that humanity is evolving in a way that is making us believe we can live more from here. Like, we're seeing it now with, AI and all those things. And I think they're wonderful tools if you know who you are
Mhm.
and where you're from. Like, if you have a good grounding then we don't have to really worry about the fear of AI taking over. Like that's just fear-based
Yeah.
discussions. I think what's more alarming is what's happening to the human body. Why in these parts of the world are we seeing chronic disease go up? Why are we seeing people getting sick younger and younger? Yeah. So emotional regulation can be the most freeing, liberating, healing, joyful, painful experience of our lives, but it will definitely improve the quality of life.
I
So
found that it was the most rewarding. As hard as that journey is, the reward that the reward that shows up along the way of your journey, it's worth everything.
And the reality is, like, we're not meant to do this work alone.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really express that in a better way, but we were never meant to walk this embodiment or this practice of connection alone. We were meant to do it together.
Yeah.
And this separation from self, from society, from each other, that people are, moving toward. I mean, hopefully we're not, but it is happening, is actually what's most tied to human suffering, in my opinion, because we are meant to be in connection with one another. And I think that's why one of the safest things people come to before they do anything is, bringing it back to body work. Because they don't have to think, but they can build a sense of safety in their body. And then it becomes very powerful if you can be someone to hold. You guys know, I always talk about holding space for people in a non-judgmental way so they can just move what they need to say out of them. Because it's scary to experience anxiety in your body and not know why it's there.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think even the whole body work idea, just understanding that so much of our trauma lives in our tissues. And that's why body work ends up becoming so important. I mean, and even for me, like the simplest, adjustment, of the thoracic spine, of the mid spine. Like I've had people break down in tears on my table just from that adjustment alone. And I'm not talking about the adjustment or because it was uncomfortable, but because it moved something in their heart space, in their in that energetic area.
Yeah.
That
And
caused them to
I
release.
do believe that, especially with chiropractic, that it is a force to really, like, it's a way to really release that energy in a quick way, right? So it can be overly intense for someone. Let's say if they've been holding something for a long time and then you release it. But there is always that sense of release that we're all searching for. And it doesn't matter whether it's through massage therapy or whether it's through, chiropractor, osteopathy, acupuncture. We're always trying to move blocked energy. And the most beautiful vision I got about how energy is supposed to move through us is, I once had this vision that I was just a vessel, and I saw water pouring through my body, almost as if I was a sieve. And that's how we should live our life. It's when we get caught up, literally the word caught up, or tight, or we block, or we stop, we use our resistance to life, that we get into trouble in certain areas of our body. So if it is true that we are vessels and we're meant to move energy through our body willingly, then even if we have a chronic illness or a disease, we can come back to that state like this. And that to me is what a miracle is. And that's why it is possible to heal from everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I also say that's why it's possible to live with diagnosis too. Like, don't let your diagnosis define you,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know a lot of people give a lot of energy to their diagnosis for, awareness, for many, many reasons. And that becomes part of their identity. And that can be, who are you if you're not your disease?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then people hold on to that. So I would say for me, my own personal journey is I want to be a vessel,
Mm-hmm.
like I want to be a vessel and I want to constantly be in motion with God's plan for my life. And that is hard. So every day I pray, every day I meditate, every day I breathe to see what's there and then to empty the vessel so I can allow, for me, I use the word the Holy Spirit to come inside me. Some people will use universal light energy, God consciousness, like it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mhm.
language. Find the language that works for you.
Mhm.
And be in relationship with it, and it'll help you. And if you don't know how to do that, find someone who can help you do that,
Yeah.
because life is hard enough, right?
Yeah. I'll often tell people in my office, especially new patients that have never had chiropractic care before or whatever, I always tell them that this isn't the be all and end all. Like if there's another form of therapy or body work that you feel is going to be more beneficial for you or that resonates with you, then that's where you need to go. Like gone
Mhm.
are the days where, you try to hold on to as many patients as you possibly can because you're building a practice. For me, it's like if I'm going to be, like you said, that vessel also requires me to allow them to sort of flow through whatever I'm giving them and make decisions based on what they need at that time. So
Right.
and I think that's the other thing about being in professions that you and I are in. It's never about us. It's about what we're able to provide and maybe for how long until they're ready to move on or need to move on to something different. Right.
Mhm.
Especially if we're looking at the healing and talking about trauma and we're talking about really getting them to embody who they are. That looks so different for everybody.
So a really good example is, for example, right, a newborn baby. A newborn baby thrives not just on the physical, but it strives on connection. So, in order for that child to thrive, it needs human connection,
Mm-hmm.
mother child, father child, sibling child. That's a time in our life where we can really see um, how integral connection is. So if it's so important at that stage, and we can see it actually
Yeah.
happening, the child thriving, why wouldn't it be important to us as we move through
Mhm.
life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So often, if I hear someone say, all I need is God, I'm not sure if that's what God wants for us
Mm-hmm.
as
Mhm.
human beings. I think it would be more accurate to say, I need God, but I also need those around me. I need people, right?
Yeah.
Because again, the most harmful thing we can do to ourselves is refusing the self, refusing the needs of the body,
Yeah.
refusing. And that's very different. What I'm talking about is different from, let's say you go on a detoxification journey where you refuse food or you do a juice cleanse. I'm not really talking about that kind of refusal. I'm talking about, I don't need people,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
or I don't need that person in my life, or, I don't need this, or I don't need, or, I don't need rest. I'm not the kind of person who needs rest. Meanwhile, you're struggling.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, exactly. And I think like the big thing that we can all kind of take out of this is the awareness around our overdoing and under feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And can we be a little more aware of that? And
So can I give another example of that?
please, yeah.
Okay. So you're going on in life. I'm going to use a relationship as an example, right? You're in a relationship. Boy marries girl or girl marries girl. I don't care, whatever you want, right? You're in a relationship. You don't hear about these people. They're married. They've had 3 kids. All of a sudden, someone gets up and leaves the relationship and everyone's in shock, right? Oh my
Yeah.
God, what happened? That happened overnight? Like, oh my God, they just got up and said, that's it, they're done? Or, this is another really good example. This happens a lot, especially now. Woman's going through breast cancer. As soon as she's done her treatment, she leaves her husband. Nobody ever knew they had issues. Apparently, the husband didn't know they had issues either. Okay? Let me give you another example. Divorce rates increase during perimenopause and menopause. So again, right? Like women specifically are really affected by this. Not that men aren't, but we are, because we are kind of the emotional framework of society. Like we are the glue, we hold everything together. Men usually in a relationship, they're supposed to provide safety and security, but women, and the thing is, when these things happen, like, are they really happening overnight, or is it a lot of unprocessed shit coming to the surface and you
Yeah.
can no longer contain it? You do not have the measures required to contain it, or you recognize this is the shit that made me sick with breast cancer.
Yeah.
I don't want to get sick again,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if the right answer is to leave the relationship, but I think a lot of people use escapism from their stressors because it's the easiest way to get out, right? So, yeah, this is having a huge impact. And it doesn't only impact us, it impacts the people we're in relationships with. It's impacting our children.
Mm-hmm.
What are we saying if we can't deal with our emotions? So you're a woman who's put in, let's say 20, 25, 30 years in a relationship, and you're just going to walk away now. That's a huge investment to walk away from.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging anyone, but what I'm saying is if we had men and women, whatever, if we had the ability to deal with what's coming up inside our system, releasing it, we don't bottle it in and press it until we explode. If that makes sense. So that would be a really good example of someone who's been suppressing most their life. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm done. And you're like, oh my God, what happened? We thought they were happily married.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, right? It can happen with a job, right? Many, many ways that people don't want to look at their stuff, or they just eventually they can't. So I'll often say, like, for example, we talk about cancer being, this might trigger people too, but energetically, it can be a lot of unprocessed emotion. And so when someone going through cancer starts to go through treatment, all their energy is required to heal. They don't have the same ability to manage all the things stressing them out in their lives, right? So they change. People talk about these massive changes after being diagnosed, and it's because they can't contain it anymore. So that's why I say, like, everything happening to us is happening for us.
Yeah.
Whether we see it as negative or positive thing, it's happening to help us get to know who we really are. That is the journey of being a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And
when we
most of
do,
us don't realize that until those big pivotal
Moments happen.
times.
yeah. And then it's like, that's when they recognize, wow. So if I have a better connection to who I am, not who I want to be, not who I think I should be, but who I am, then I actually can improve the quality of all my relationships,
Yeah.
because I'm finally being honest with myself. You know, I'm not censoring myself. So, you know, I don't trigger my husband or trigger my kids or my parents. And, you know, you're molding yourself into this person. But with these chronic diseases, or, you know, you have a heart attack or you get a cancer diagnosis, you can't contain that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the people around the person are like, I don't know what's happening to this person. They're not who they thought they were, but they're more themselves than they ever have been.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So embodiment is also returning to yourself.
100%.
And a lot of people don't know who that is.
Yeah. So you get someone who's severely traumatized by sexual abuse, physical abuse, who's had surgery, who doesn't feel good in their body. And then you teach them how to be aware of their feet, their legs, their hips, their, you know, their digestion, how to feel, like, for example, we talk about body work, but how to be touched in a way that provides safety, security, that really makes you understand that you are a body. Like, your body isn't separate from you, but you are a total expression of a human experience. That can be the most liberating thing. Like, your body, whether you're 10 pounds, 20 pounds less, more, blah, 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 healthy, not healthy, there is always peace to be found in your body. It can be a beautiful instrument for healing, because it's about bringing the body back to a state where they feel totally safe and secure and supported. That's when the body can heal. So we talk about, if you can do all the right things, but if you don't feel safe or secure, those healing mechanisms won't turn on in your body. Right? So why would we ever judge someone who, you know, doesn't feel safe to do chemo or radiation? Is the chemo radiation going to work if they don't feel safe?
Yeah.
But if you approach the chemo and radiation as being, you know, love serum, and you're inviting this into your body and you think it's the best miraculous medicine in the world, you know, and you're like, give it to me, I want it. That's very different. Or, you know, intimacy. If you feel intimacy is a thing of safety and security, then it can heal you. But if you find intimacy, and I'm not just talking about physical intimacy, but I'm talking about intimacy like hugging, cuddling, someone being vulnerable with someone is being safe and secure, then that's healing. But if it's not for you, if you feel that sharing your vulnerability isn't safe, then it won't be a healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think relationship is really important.
Such amazing stuff. I mean, we can literally talk about this all day, and like so many more avenues. But what I hope everyone is getting from this is the importance of finding ways to become more embodied. And if you're resisting it, it's okay too, because we all do it. We all want to numb out and kind of bypass the body, but keep trying. Keep trying, even if it's in the simple things that you do.
Right. Look for ways to practice embodiment, because it's not the same for everyone. Massage therapy can be one way. Breath work can be another way. Find what works for you, makes you feel fully alive in your body. It can be just free movement, right? You turn on a good song and you feel, your breath deepen, your heart beating, like anything that makes you feel like this is who I am. This is all a part of me,
Exactly. And if you need help, we have a lot of amazing people that are there to help you. Right. Reach out to Shark, reach out to Michella. So Michella, tell us where people can find you if they want to.
I'm available on social media. So my handle is Michella Meno. I check Instagram most frequently.
Yeah.
And I'm also on Facebook and just started out on TikTok, but I don't check very often. But yeah, you can reach out to me through Instagram would be the best way. And, or you can find me in practice. I work out of clinic and out of my home, and I do, like I said, I try and use all my gifts to help people so that they can get unstuck, and move on in life, or just, practice feeling present in their body, or a sense of peace or relaxation. It doesn't have to be, this kind of work, but that's where they can reach me, or my email, I'm sure.
I'll include that all in the description for the for this podcast. So really, really thank you so much for joining us. I had no doubt this would be an enlightening experience. It always is when we have the time to chat and really get into juicy conversations, and we love doing that. So thank you for your time. It's been so amazing.
It has been. Thank you. And God bless you both as you continue this journey. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll talk to you soon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Again, if you have any comments or suggestions or questions about today, please reach out to us. And we love to hear from you. So have a good one, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.